In every way imaginable, Donald Trump is weakness pretending to be strength. He tries to act like a tough guy, but the reality is very different. He bows to dictators, fails at trade negotiations because no one takes his threats seriously, and now he's attacking our democracy in ways we have to take seriously. That's why protests are erupting across the country, even right outside the White House, against a president who looks weaker than ever. We'll get into all of that, but first, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps support our work. Now, before we cover the protests, let's start with one of the key reasons they began: Donald Trump's attempted takeover in D.C., which Jessica Tarlov recently called out.
I don't think necessarily that they're paid, but I understand that those people probably have a higher quality of life than a lot of people who are inner city DCians. And the polling has always been consistent that minority residents of these cities want more police, not less. So I'm not fighting with that. I think that if you just say there's no problem at all, that you're going to be on the wrong side of it. And we've lost too many 80-20 issues. But I think that we can be smart about this. You can point out the fact that you have members of the National Guard walking on the mall and around Georgetown guarding Sephora. And then that's an absurd use of tax dollars. You could also say, hey, Republicans, you took $1 billion from the D.C. budget, money that was going to go to police salaries and school programs, because we know also kids don't commit crimes if they're actually in school. That's a good thing. So that's a solution. Give us back our money. I also think Muriel Bowser has been very conciliatory with Donald Trump. She doesn't want to be on his bad side. She immediately took up Black Lives Matter Plaza when he came back into office. Why didn't he say, I'm thinking about doing this, Mayor Bowser, how can we work together? We have the same goals and the same aims. Do it with the police chief as well and try to figure that out.
Bowser is in Martha's Vineyard right now.
For one day on a personal family matter. I don't know what's going. She's not going to be found at a party on the beach. If you are about to do that, don't do that, because I just said that you're not going to. What is also the most important aspect of this is that taking over the DC police, like what he did in Los Angeles as well, is part of this massive consolidation of power that Donald Trump has been undertaking. So when you call an emergency for everything, and he even said today, remember,
it is an emergency.
It is not. He said at first, I have 30 days. And then he said, well, I can make it a national emergency, and then it would be forever. I could do it. I don't know if I will, how he plays around with that. What he's doing with redistricting mid-cycle, how he's going after universities and law firms, how he's firing people who give him information that he doesn't want, like the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
All legal.
And he puts in a guy who goes to January 6th who's going to do what he wants, and maybe we won't have a job report.
What is your alternative?
Donald Trump doesn't care about stopping crime. He only cares about himself. He likes to pretend he's strong and effective, but the reality is very different. Crime has actually dropped in Washington, yet Trump is cutting billions from the budget that made that progress possible. Instead of solving problems, his supporters are creating them. Just today, masked ICE agents claimed liberals are destroying the country while making an arrest without cause. A clear sign of creeping authoritarianism, and that's why people are fighting back through protests nationwide. Before we get into those protests, let's start with a speech from Greg Casar, who explained exactly why this fight matters.
Trump doesn't have a plan to win the election. He has a plan to rig the election. Are we going to let him? They're doing what they always try to do. From Bull Connor to George Wallace, they want to silence the voices of working Texans and Texans of color. With this redistricting plan, they're going to move 10 million people from district to district for no good reason. And 2/3 of them are people of color. We know their game. We know their game. Trump and Abbott want that to happen quietly. Are we going to let that happen? If Trump and Abbott had their way, they would have passed these maps weeks ago. Are we going to let that happen? Trump and Abbott want you to feel powerless. They didn't want a quorum break. They wanted to get away with this. But thanks to your fight, thanks to our fight here in Texas and our leaders' fight, now we've got people in California fighting back, saying to those California Republican members of Congress, If you don't stop what's happening in Texas, you're going to lose your jobs. We're going to keep fighting these maps, and we're going to carry that fight through November, when we're going to make sure that no matter how they draw those lines, we're going to send the Trumps and the Abbotts and the Paxtons to the dustbin of history where they belong.
Donald Trump knows his actions are deeply unpopular, which is why he's trying to rig the midterms through gerrymandering and other schemes. But it won't work. Every move he makes only makes him less popular. Meanwhile, real fighters in states like Texas and California, including Governor Newsom, are pushing back against Trump and Greg Abbott. And that's why we're seeing protests erupt across the country, with people taking to the streets to demand accountability. Let's take a look at two powerful examples: in Chicago and in Washington, D.C.
Hey everybody, Troy Martinez-Fisher here in Chicago at the Stop the Trump rally. The nation is waking up. We're pushing back. This is why democracy matters. Here with my good friend, Representative James Tallarico. James, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we are just so inspired to see this kind of support for our movement. This is not going to be won by just 51 Texas House Democrats. This is going to be won by everyone in this country standing up to this broken political system. And hopefully, after we stop this power grab, passing a national ban on gerrymandering to end this kind of corruption once and for all.
So you heard the man. It's not about Texas. It's about our country. Let's come together, America. Let's take back this democracy.
This is exactly what we need right now. People showing up, speaking out, and shining a light on the authoritarian crisis unfolding before our eyes. Donald Trump isn't just trying to rig the midterms through gerrymandering, he's also using intimidation tactics on the ground. His allies are ready to interfere in cities like Detroit, Milwaukee, Atlanta, and Philadelphia, threatening voters and undermining democracy. That's not strength, it's authoritarianism. This isn't a conspiracy. It's happening in real time, and it's why we must fight back and demand our leaders do the same. We saw a glimpse of that leadership from Barack Obama right here.
What we all recognize is we can't let a systematic assault on democracy just happen and stand by. And so because of your actions, because of your courage, what you've seen is California responding, other states looking at what they can do to offset this mid-decade gerrymandering that is highly irregular and is not what we should be doing to balance out the maps for this upcoming election. And I think we became a little bit complacent over the years. We assumed that things would continue to get better, that our democracy would become more inclusive, that it would become more fair, that we'd make it easier for people to vote rather than harder for people to vote, that the votes would be counted rather than suppressed. And what we forgot is that history doesn't always move in a straight line, and it's not always 2 steps forward and another 2 steps forward. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and a step back. And we're in a moment right now where not just gerrymandering, but efforts at voter suppression, efforts at questioning the results of elections, efforts at the executive branch unilaterally doing things that bypass Congress and the people's representatives, militarization of cities, politicization of our justice departments and our military. Those are trend lines that remind us that this precious democracy that we've got is not a given. It's not self-executing. It requires us to fight for it. It requires us to stand up for it.
Thanks for watching this video, and if you stuck around at the end, you can drop the blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.